Hey guys, Adam Trigger here, WagerTalk.com. It is Friday, June 28th. We've made it to the weekend, and now it's time to cash some winners and hang out outside. Hopefully, you're getting nice weather. It looks like we're going to have some nice weather here in upstate New York. Got a couple of specials to tell you about. First, though, like and subscribe, as always, if you're not subscribed already, so we can continue to bring you free picks on this channel all season long. But a couple specials. One, all of my Major League Baseball until the end of the season. I am on a 19-7 run right now in MLB. It's been really good the last month and a half. We're well on our way to being in the plus, and you can get everything for an extremely low rate. I believe it's $2.99 the rest of the way through the World Series, and I think that is up until Sunday. I know we extended it. I think we extended it through the end of the month, so you won't see that up at that low of price the rest of the year. So take advantage of that on my page now at wt.buzz/AT. And I also have a 5% play tonight in Major League Baseball, which is included if you do the special. I've now hit 4 straight, cashed both of my MLB bets yesterday with the Twins and the Cubs, added a KBO winner this morning. And so I'm going to go for 5 straight wins with my 5% play tonight. We're going to look at a different game here. We're going to talk Cubs Brewers. So I did cash with the Cubs yesterday. If you followed along here, you know I was high on the Cubs this season coming into the year. Talked about it on Wager Talk programming. A couple of weeks ago, I said, all right, I'm going to probably try to find like one really good spot each series to back the Cubs, at least one. Fortunately for me, I picked the right spot in this most recent series because the Cubs just dropped 3 of 4. I played them yesterday. They avoided the sweep. But this is a huge series for them. They had come in off of a series loss to the Mets, and then they lose another series to the Giants, which we just talked about. This is a team that's flirting with like being out of it right now. I believe they're 38-44 coming into play today, but they get a head-to-head here with the team that's leading their division, the Brewers. And even if they sweep here, it doesn't mean they're back in the hunt in the NL Central. But I really think that winning this series against a division rival here, and maybe the division rival now, well, this is never going to be as big of rivalry as Cubs Cardinals, but it's certainly getting up there with Craig Counsell going to the Cubs and the Brewers being one of the better teams in the league. I just think it's paramount for the Cubs to play well this weekend and build off of yesterday's win. So yesterday, huge win for the Cubs for a couple of reasons. One, like I said, avoid the sweep. Season, may have been over if they lost yesterday. But the big takeaway for me was the bullpen. It's something that's been a total disaster for the Cubs over the last 5-6 weeks. And the bullpen comes out and throws 4 scoreless innings. And they needed him because, it was a 3-3 game. Ian Happ hits a 2-run home run, and they end up winning the game 5-3 in 10 innings. And the other takeaway for me there was not only the successful outing, but the guys they had out in the big innings. Porter Hodge comes in and gets his first career save. It looks like they're going to really shake this bullpen up a little bit. They signed Vinny Nittoli. He's a kind of a journeyman reliever. I think he was most recently with the A's. He'll probably be available tonight. Keegan Thompson's a guy that I kind of liked how he's thrown the ball all year at Iowa when he's been down at AAA. And I think he's probably your bulk reliever here after Taillon, who I'll get to in a minute, but he's been solid. And I think you're going to start to see different guys get a chance. We already talked about Hodge getting the chance to close out a game in extras yesterday. And that might get this bullpen going because really, like, very similar to the Mets and how disastrous their bullpen was in May. We kind of foreshadowed on these shows the Mets playing better in June because they have a lot of good individual relievers. It was just guys blowing big spots. And that's really what it's been for the Cubs lately. They've probably blown more leads than I don't have it in front of me, but they've got to be well up there in terms of like number of blown late leads, this season. And I was on the Cubs in this matchup the first time these two pitchers faced off earlier this year, and it was the same story. The Cubs took a lead into the late innings, and it was their bullpen that blew it on Taillon and ended up being a 6-4 Brewers win. As far as the Brewers are concerned, I like this baseball team. They do things correctly. They do a lot of the little things right. It's something that I think will probably help them win the Central this year. But I do think this might be the high water mark for them. I do think this might be the peak, if you will, that we always talk about in sports betting, wanting to kind of sell a team at its peak. And the Brewers might be at their peak right now. They just swept the Rangers. They're now a season high 15 games over 500, a 6.5 game lead in the division. And so I just have to wonder if this is the time to sell them a little bit from a value standpoint, because when I look at this matchup, Jameson Taillon versus Colin, two guys I'm not overly high on. I was really surprised to see the Cubs as big of an underdog as they were. And, now you, even as we record this video, you're still looking at Cubs, plus 125 to win this game, when I think it should be closer to even money. The series itself has been very close this season. It's been, the Brewers have won 4 of 7, so they're 4-3 against the Cubs right now, but it's gone back and forth. Most of the games have been close. The 6-4 game, when these two guys squared off the last time, it is the most recent meeting between the two. And I just think that it's been so neck and neck that why not take a shot with the Cubs at plus money if you're going to bet this game. Now, I will talk about the pitching and then talk about how that pertains to the over and liking the over here. Taillon, he's not a guy that I've been super high on. I do expect him to regress, but he has been very good. If you start to look down the list of pitchers in the National League, 2.90 ERA, 1.27 whip. There's not many that have been that much better than that this season. So even though I do think he probably doesn't finish there, which I guess makes it a little bit concerning to back him here, but he's had very good numbers against the Brewers historically. So far, twice this year, 2 quality starts, 3 runs in 12 innings. And like I said, I was on Taillon and I backed the Cubs in the most recent meeting between these two teams. And it was a game where he pitched well, turned in a really good 6-inning start. The 3 runs he gave up in that game were sort of bad luck in a sense. It was all on 2-out hits that kind of found some grass. So he had a really solid outing. And, the Cubs ended up with a late lead there and their bullpen couldn't hold it up. The pitcher he was up against in that game was Colin. I feel very similarly about him. There's some stuff he does well. I think he did remake himself, to an extent when he went over to Japan. But I just don't see him pitching at the rate, having success at the rate he's had it so far this year. Guy that tends to have a lower swing and miss rate, lower strikeout rate, and I think that will catch up with him. Now, his numbers against the Cubs are also very good. Just 1 run in the last 10.1 innings pitched against the Cubs. So I think you're going to get a lot of people that do a surface handicap take a quick look and say, okay, well, Taillon's been decent against the Brewers. Rhea's been good against the Cubs, so let's go under. And I would advise against that because, if anything, I think these two teams, and going back to the first meeting between these two pitchers when they opposed each other, where it ended up 6-4, and there was plenty of scoring opportunities, I would think that regression's probably coming for both of these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if it came for at least one of them here. I hope in our case, as we talk about this game, it's for Rhea and not for Taillon. But again, both of these guys might give up runs, and we've kind of talked about the Cubs, how suspect their bullpen has been. But the other thing for the Cubs is they're dead last in OPS since May 1st. That was a category they led on April 30th, right? So think about that for a second. For the first 6 weeks of the season, the Cubs, with runners in scoring position, the Cubs are the number 1 OPS in the league. Since May 1st, they've been dead last and dead last by a mile. What that tells me, the Cubs are going to start cashing in some of these runner and scoring position opportunities. And, as you look at this game as it pertains to the total, both of these teams are super aggressive when they get on the base paths. Very aggressive. They both steal. They attempt to steal quite a bit. The Cubs will take the second base almost to their detriment. Sometimes they run into a lot of outs, but they certainly force the issue on the base paths. And the Brewers are trying to swipe bags at at a rate that's right up there with any of the top teams in Major League Baseball. So, again, those are both things that lend themselves to scoring chances being created and to over 8.5. So, in summary, if I was betting the side here, I think it's very even. And I think the Cubs gained some very needed momentum in yesterday's game. So I would ride that and take the plus price with the Cubs because, again, I think it's very equal. You're going to give me the Cubs plus 125 coming off of a sort of a momentum boosting win. It makes sense. As far as the total is concerned, I would be willing to buck the trend of Taillon continuing to shut down the Brewers and Rhea continuing to shut down the Cubs and look for some runs. We know that both of these teams can score late. If you go back to the previous series between these two teams, there was late runs in that series. And this is one of those totals where I think it's like a half run to a run off. You get to 4-4, it's an auto win. And I don't think that's out of the realm here of both teams sort of contributing and doing their part. So free picks today, we'll do two of them. Cubs plus 125, over 8.5 in this game. Again, I have a 5% MLB max bet up for tonight, going for my fifth straight win. I've been red hot on the bases in MLB and KBO, and I have a great special that's going to be up through the weekend that gets you everything Major League Baseball right through the World Series. So go to wt.buzz/AT, get all my picks, like and subscribe so I can keep coming on here and giving you free ones. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.